about shopping, spending that hard-earned money. You know what? You worked hard for this money, so don't just give it away. Most people walk into a store and pay full retail and think they got a deal because it said sale over it. That's silly. Don't do that. Whether you're buying a stereo, clothes, video games, cell phones, or anything else, keep in mind you need to shop for the best deal. This lesson talks about where to find the deals, how to get discounts, and the strategies of negotiation. So go try some of this stuff. See how much money you can save. This lesson's a blast.
Please welcome nationally syndicated radio host and New York Times best-selling author, Dave Ramsey.
This is a fun lesson. It's about how to buy stuff and not pay too much. It's about how to buy stuff and get the best possible bargain. And I gotta tell you, I enjoy getting a deal. I go at it maybe a little differently than some people. I go at it a little differently than even my wife, but I enjoy getting a deal. And you know, it's interesting to me. When I first started teaching this stuff, I kind of grew up in a household where we called it horse trading. We never had any horses, but we called it horse trading. You know, getting a deal on something, going out and bargain shopping, trying to find somebody that needed to sell something. And when I first started teaching people how to negotiate and get bargains, I had people come up to me that were offended. They would say, well, now, goodness gracious, if someone were to give you a deal, then if you were to negotiate and get a deal from someone, then you must have taken advantage of them. You know, that is a strictly American concept for someone to even think that way. Every other culture you visit all around the world negotiates everything. Negotiation is a way of life. If you've ever gone across the border of the United States to the south, to the north, if you've gone overseas anywhere, if you've been in the Caribbean, I mean, there are actual cultures that are insulted if you do not engage them in a negotiation to do a purchase. But not us. No, we get in our fleeced car, running on credit card gas, driving on a bond-financed highway. We go to the mall and pay 120% of retail and think we got a deal because it said sale over it. And never once asked if there was a better price available. We just pay the piper.
I shop anywhere that might have what I would want or need. Just anything will do.
Like Abercrombie, Hollister, and American Eagle.
I like to shop at Goodwill.
I shop at Best Buy and Kroger.
I mean, it is so ingrained in other cultures that, well, we had these friends that were missionaries, and I think they'd been on the mission field maybe a little too long. Ever run into those folks? They were out there a little too long. We should have reeled them back in a little sooner. I mean, she comes home, and she's here about 3 weeks. They've been out there years on the mission field. She's home about 3 weeks. We think this woman's going to get arrested. She's in the mall going, I want a better deal! And the woman's going, call security! I mean, because she was up in their face trying to get a bargain. That is the way most cultures around the world think, but not us. And so I want to tell you first that it is okay to get a deal. It's okay to get a deal, but I'll go ahead and give you some rules so that you understand when it's okay to get a deal. It's okay to get a deal if you didn't lie to get the deal. You in no way misrepresented the truth. You know, you didn't tell them that your child was ill and that, you know, all of this if your child wasn't ill. I mean, and you don't use some kind of whacked out con artist thing to try to get a bargain. That's not what we're trying to do here. Now, of course, you've not set out to harm the other party. The intent of you getting a deal was not just to be abusive somehow in the process. Your intent to get a deal was just simply to get a deal. And of course, you've approached this whole process of buying a deal from a win-win perspective. Now, I got to tell you, the stuff I'm going to teach you in this lesson, most of you have done it once or twice. Many of you have done it quite a bit. It would be the rare person in here who, as I teach this lesson, you go, wow, I've never heard that. That's not what you're going to say. You're going to go, wow, I knew that. But what I want to emphasize at the beginning and at the end and in the middle of this lesson is that you make this a way of life, not just the occasional story that happened and you get to tell it. I want it to be your way of looking at things from this point forward. Make getting a bargain a way of life. The first key to opening the door to huge bargains is learning to negotiate everything. Just start with the idea that everything is negotiable. At some price, in some quantity, on some delivery date, Everything is negotiable. Last year's model, last year's color, I don't know what it is, but at some point, just about anything you want to buy, you can buy at a deal. Just get in that mindset. I will not accept retail as a way of life anymore. I'm going to start with the basics and say I'm going to negotiate everything. And if you approach it with really understanding what a win-win deal looks like, you won't be afraid to ask for it. Win-win deals really do work, so don't be afraid to ask for the deal. One of the best books I've ever read on negotiating was by William Ury and Roger Fisher. It's called Getting to Yes. Getting to Yes. And if you don't know who William Ury and Roger Fisher are, they're the guys that are professional, world-renowned negotiators. They sit in things like with Jimmy Carter and the Camp David Accord. Major negotiations between countries and diplomats. They sit down, and the thing they talk about is that win-win really does work. And the way you can discover as you purchase something or as you engage in negotiation, how do you discover how to help the other party win? You have to gather information. He with the most information about the whole deal, including the other party involved, he with the most information has the best opportunity to design a win-win and will win the negotiation most of the time. So if you gather information, slow down a little bit, learn about who it is you're dealing with. What are their motivations? Why are they at the table? What's going on? Why is it they're selling that thing? It's kind of like, well, they tell the story in that book of the two old ladies with the orange. The two old ladies have an orange in the house, and if they did the normal negotiating thing, kind of the naive negotiating thing, they both wanted the orange. And they argue back and forth, back and forth, back and forth over the orange, and finally they just give up and say, well, the typical thing is kind of it's a bad result for a negotiation because they didn't talk long enough, and they simply cut the orange down the middle. But if they had discussed it a little bit, one lady wanted the orange to take the peel off of the orange and use it in cooking. How many of you ladies have ever used an orange peel in cooking? The other lady wanted the orange to take the peel off of it and to eat the fruit. If they had spent time understanding each other's needs, wants, and desires, gathering information, they both could have had 100% of the orange. Instead, they spent all their time arguing. That's not negotiating. And it doesn't give you a win-win solution. If you gather information from people that you're working with, you can have 100% of what you want, they can have 100% of what they want, and there's no harm, no foul. That is a win-win scenario. Let me give you another example of that. And I'm holding in my hand just a pretty basic, standard orange. And I'm going to actually sell this orange right now to the person who can give me a $20 bill for it the fastest. Go. Quick, hold it up. First, I see a 20 in the air. I'm going to take you fast as you can get here. Go fast. Somebody's got 20 bucks. You got it, right here. This guy jumped. Come on. Is that a 20?
It is.
No, you bought an orange for 20 bucks.
Yes, it is.
Just being on the front row made you a little too enthusiastic? It's a little scary. I don't know. Come up here for a minute. Join me up here. I would hate to take just walk right over there on that side of the table. I'd hate to take advantage of you in front of all these people, but because I don't know if this is a win-win deal or not. Do you?
I don't.
Your wife's going. What's he done? What's your name?
John.
John. Yeah, it's good to meet you, sir. Thank you, by the way. That was a great deal. But just for the fun of it, let's just see what happened with this orange and see what happens with Big John here, how he came out on this. Uh-oh, right there. What is that down in there? Go ahead and pull that out and unwind it.
$100 bill.
$100 bill. Thank you, came out. Congratulations. A rather sticky, icky $100 bill, but it's a good trade for a 20, wouldn't you agree? So all that proves is that you can get an audience to do anything. It doesn't have anything to do with negotiating. So when you're negotiating, there's at least 7 little things you can do. I call these the lucky 7 basic steps of negotiating. Number 1, when you're negotiating, always tell the truth. And not telling something that you know is also lying. The transmission really didn't slip when you just test drove this car I'm selling, but it has been slipping for the last 3 weeks. Wrong answer. You just got to look at them and go, look, this transmission is slipping a little bit. It's part of the deal. That's why I've got the car priced the way it is. You're probably going to have to do a little work on that. That's part of the process of always telling the truth. How many of you have ever heard the book by Tom Stanley, The Millionaire Next Door? Raise your hand. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, by the way, you ought to read it. It's the consummate study of millionaires. Tom Stanley was a marketing professor at Georgia State University, and he went all across America studying millionaires and the attributes of people that are millionaires. Now, I've established early and often, if you want to be rich people, you got to do rich people stuff. If you're broke and you want to be rich, do rich people stuff. If you're big and you want to be skinny, do skinny people stuff. Right? If your marriage isn't going good, find somebody who's been married 62 years, take them to coffee and learn about how to be married. You know, you find somebody that's winning at something and do what they're doing to be what they are. Does that make sense? Say yes. Okay, now, what Tom Stanley did in his second book was called The Millionaire Mind. And in that book, what he did was he didn't study millionaires. He studied people that at least had $10 million. 10 millionaires. Deca millionaires. And at least had a $750,000 a year personal income and had maintained that over an extended period of time. Now, these are people that make $750,000 a year and have at least $10 million and have done this for many years, and he wanted to sit down and study them, and he studied the attributes, the character qualities of these super winners. By the way, statistically, they are in the top 1/4 of 1% of Americans. A very rare animal indeed. And he studied how these rare animals work, how they think. And he came up with 38 character qualities or things that they had in their lives, and he ranked them according to most likely to be there every time. Number 1 was the thing that was there every time, all the way down to 38, which appeared the least number of times as he studied these people. I was real happy to see that, you didn't have to have a 4.0 GPA to be there. Wasn't even in the top 10. Thank goodness I got a chance. But the interesting thing to me was the number 1 characteristic of these very, very wealthy people, when he talked to their employees, when he talked to their vendors, when he talked to their family, their wife, their husband, their kids, when he talked to their in-laws, when he talked to their neighbors, when he talked to people who didn't even know them, and up close and personal, but knew them by reputation. In every single case, not one exception of the people he studied, every single one of them, so this attribute became number 1. These people had fanatical levels of integrity. Fanatical levels of integrity. Off the scale integrity. If you want to win in life, the truth is the best way. I know television doesn't tell us that, but it really, really is. So always tell the truth. Gone around the country, tell financial things for years. I'm on the radio in my city for over a couple of decades almost now. And one of the things I teach people, you probably know this if you've read anything I've written or anything else, is that I teach people don't buy extended warranties. Don't buy extended warranties. Extended warranties are a rip. So when you're going to buy a washer and dryer or a television or a stereo or whatever, and they want to put the warranty on there, that warranty is about 50 to 60% commission. Only 12% of it covers the actuarial statistical probability of the item breaking down. And so self-insure through that. Put that money in your pocket and use your emergency fund, because believe me, almost all of that is profit and marketing. It's a way for the salesman on the floor to make a little kick. And that's what it amounts to. So I've told people for years, don't buy extended warranties, don't buy extended warranties. I've not bought an extended warranty in 20-something years. So my wife and I are shopping just the other day for a major appliance. right in our own neighborhood. And we go down to this electronics store, this appliance store that we like, that we do business with, and I bought stuff there many times. And I walk in the door, and we're looking at the item, and we're talking about it, and finally we say, I want the open box special, you know, how you go through this whole thing. You got one with a little scratch on the side. And he comes back, he said, well, I got one that's a last year's model. What's the difference? Almost nothing, and we want the last year's model. Well, it's not the color she wants. I don't care what the color is. It's not, you know, it's an appliance. We're not going to see it. And so we were going through this thing. We're getting ready to make a deal. And I said, look, here's the deal. I pay cash for things, and I want a bargain. And he says, well, I'll be back in just a minute. He comes back in a few minutes. He says, well, I've got these coupons here, and they don't apply to this purchase, but if you're going to pay cash and you want a deal, you know, we're getting this last year's model open box thing, but we'll even let the coupons apply. And this was a several $1,000 purchase, and it was a $250 coupon. And I'm going, oh, you're generous. Keep it coming. And he says, well, I got to talk to you about something else. He says, you need the extended warranty. And I said, well, I don't buy extended warranties, and I don't believe in them. I don't think they're a good buy, and we don't do that. And my wife says, well, honey, it might break down. I said, where have you been? You know, when I've taught about 3 or 4 other million other people not to buy them, where were you? You know, we don't buy extended warranties. She's just trying to be nice. She didn't want to do conflict. The little guy's obviously hurt that we wouldn't buy his extended warranty. And he says, he goes on, and, well, you need a car. I said, well, is the thing going to break down? Is it a piece of trash? And he said, well, no, it's one of the best items made, Consumer Reports. So I said, well, what do I need the extended warranty for? And he's like, well. He said, I tell you what, Dave Ramsey buys extended warranties. I thought he knew who I was, and I thought he was kidding around. And I started grinning. I said, no, Dave Ramsey doesn't buy extended warranties. Dave Ramsey, I can promise you, Dave Ramsey doesn't buy extended warranties. Well, now he gets all puffed up and he takes an I start to realize this guy doesn't know who he's talking to. And he's like, yes, he does. He was in here the other day. He bought a television in this very store and he put an extended warranty on it. My ears are now red. My head is starting to change colors all the way back. And my wife said, honey, you're red. And I said, let me just try to explain this to you. I can promise you, I know Dave Ramsey personally. He does not buy extended warranties. Oh, yeah, I can show you the paperwork. And so I just pulled my license out of my pocket and held it up in front of his face and I said, he doesn't either. And he looked at it and he went, oh no. I'm so sorry. And I said, yeah, you are. And he's like, well, we can get you a deal, Dave. I promise you. And I'm like, look, man, I'm sorry. I can't breathe right now. When people lie about me, it just messes me. I can't even breathe. And Sharon's like, well, we work this out. I said, we're not working nothing out, honey. I said, I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. And so what I have to do is right now is I have to quickly leave this store. And I held my breath and you know, and I didn't kill anybody, and I didn't transfer it and yell at my wife. I was really proud of myself, and I just left the store, and we went to another place and actually paid more. Because there was no way those people were getting my money. No way. I waited overnight. I called the next morning. I was calm and collected, and I was very gentle and nice, and the managers were like, oh yeah, we heard what happened. Please don't talk about it on the radio. I said, dude, this is the best story in the universe. It will be talked about. And I said, but he said, well, listen, we've sent out a memo to everybody in the entire chain. It will never be said again. I promise you. We looked up the file. He was wrong. We told him wrong, and it won't be ever done again. We promise, we promise, we promise, we promise, we promise. I wasn't mean to him at all. I'm not a bully. And I just said, well, that's cool. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you. We'll do business with you again since you've corrected this error, and we like you guys. And he said, well, if you come back down here, I can get you a deal on that. And I said, no, we bought it somewhere else because I just couldn't stay there. I couldn't breathe at that moment. But integrity matters, doesn't it? When you lie, it costs you. That's real. There is no shortcut. That's the deal. You're listening to the Dave Ramsey Show, where we cover basic ideas like getting out of debt, living on a plan, saving money for emergencies. Up next is Jason in Denver. Jason, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show. What's up, man?
Hey Dave, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just bought a computer, and in the process of buying it, the cashier asked me if I wanted to buy the extended warranty. It seemed really expensive, and I wasn't really sure at the time about it, so I didn't buy it. However, once I got home and started thinking about computers and the problems that they have, it really made me start second-guessing myself, and I was wondering if it was dumb for me not to get the warranty.
No, you made the right decision. Extended warranties are a rip. And if that electronic store is selling computers that break down all the time, you probably need to get a different store to buy from and a different brand of computer to buy. Yes, computers have problems, but a lot of the warranties don't cover those kinds of problems anyway. An extended warranty is about 70% commission. 50 to 70% commission is paid out on them. They only use 12% of the money they collect from you to actually cover the statistical probability of a breakdown. And the rest of it is profit and commissions. So never buy extended warranties. They're a rip. Carefully research the item you're buying, as you always would, and get you a good quality item that's got a good, good report in Consumer Reports or something like that. But do not buy extended warranties. You made a good call. And listen, here's a hint. Anytime a store is pushing something hard, it's because there's profit in it. And you can't get out of one of these stores without being pitched a credit card and an extended warranty, right?
Yeah.
And that gives you a hint right there. It's very profitable to them. Does that make sense to you?
That does. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks for the call. Open phones this hour, which means you choose the subject. You jump in, we're going to talk about you right in front of you. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.